Well, I was wrong. Roe vs. Wade has been overturned as of June 23rd, 2022. And what I thought was going to be a COVID's over summer or a hot girl summer has now turned into a feral girl summer. And with the push of a button, everyone is extremely reactive and full of rage. And initially I was judging women. Initially I was judging women because I thought, oh no, I hope you don't start dressing up like handmaids and burning down cities that still allow abortion, because that, again, doesn't help your case, it's not persuasive, and you're burning down the cities that allow abortion. Nor, though, am I urging people to go to rural areas where you assume everyone is a backwards hick and start burning down the farms there. Again, all of that is fueled by just unmitigated rage that someone has pushed a button, told you who your enemy is, and then you go and run off. And it's almost, that's not going to have people make your point anymore. In fact, it's actually demonstrating that you are such a childish person that, oh, maybe we should say no to more aspects of their life and they should be enslaved and controlled even more, right? So at first I was judging, I was in that, because I was kind of thinking, like, there's so, like, we have these narratives and we get a button pushed and then we're off, right? But then I have a new judgment. It's very, very specific judgment toward these men that I see that are telling women, well, now you're just going to have to not have all this sex with everyone, or you're going to have to stop having casual sex, or you're going to have to start thinking about consequences, risks, and taking responsibility. And the reason why it really struck me when I saw men saying this, and I thought, I'm sorry, but that's the biggest bait and switch I've ever seen. Because women who are engaging in casual sex are not doing it because it's their preference. They're usually doing it to cater to what a man wants, or what they think a man wants, or what they think everyone wants based on the constant onslaught of cultural conditioning in songs, movies, TV in the 2000s. Because what did we get an onslaught of in the 2000s? We got this message that casual sex is this idyllic, perfect, empowered world where everyone's happy because they're free and they're getting their needs met. Now, this lie and myth was not something that women dreamed up as their ideal scenario. Do you really think that a woman who has a looming consequence of getting pregnant is going to dream up that that's her ideal? No, a man's going to have that, and then he's going to normalize, minimize, and convince a woman that that's what she wants too. And then the woman is going to want to believe it because she mistakenly thinks that imitating the masculine means empowerment instead of owning her own feminine. Which we have what people insist they believe, and then we have what people are programmed to believe, and then we have what people are manipulated to believe. And for these men that act as though women want to be sluts running around and having multiple partners, and that they want to just not take responsibility and justify and minimize. It's like, no, I don't know any woman that thinks that way. That is a cultural conditioning and a man conditioning that they have had to normalize, which is why they have been so miserable and why they're enraged and why they are more in their masculine in general, because that entire way of being has made them afraid, insecure, they feel used, exploited, annoyed, disappointed, terrified, and they also don't even have good sex. So yes, to some degree, it's like women, just own up to the fact that you've been kind of catering to culture and men. But sometimes you can't really peel back all the layers of beliefs and bullshit to see that that's what's going on. And there's an insistence on, well, I do prefer it that way. It's like, okay. But the thing I'm really getting at is very specific and kind of weird, but that I'm focusing on. But it's because I find it really annoying to see men judging women and having this idea like, well, then don't, you can't be running around doing that. It's like, no woman would want to be running around doing that if it weren't for men and the culture. So please, and I know that seems like, oh, you're not letting the women take responsibility. Yes, women should take responsibility for the fact that they self-betrayed in order to get connection. But let's look at what they're self-betraying because they perceive their only way for them to be in the dating culture is that they have to be in the hookup culture, because they're either going to have to be with a person like a Christian man that will get married and that's when he has sex. That to a lot of women was another scary thing. And so, but it's also scary to be in hookup culture. But in the 2000s, that's what the choices were, and those were the stories. There's only been this talk in the 30s upon reflecting on all of that, where we finally said, you know what, that was really empty, harmful, and kind of made us, kind of really made women cynical and disappointed and miserable and depressed from being in that. Because hookup culture, and it's not, and of course men were affected too, but hookup culture is just a little more catered to a man's sexuality, and a man's sexuality is that sow your wild oats kind of thing, and a woman's is more wanting to feel one at a time, experiencing one man at a time to give her love to. She doesn't feel a lot of security of having a ton of men, because that's just more people to worry about, and so evolutionarily, women have to that sow their seed concept is going against their needs and their evolutionary biology. And also, men can have more of a detachment and compartmentalization with sex. So casual sex, it goes well with the fact that after sex, they release testosterone, they're more detached, they're ready to continue on their way. Women release oxytocin, they're more bonded, they want more, they want to feel security, trust, comfort. They always say, like, before sex, men are usually, they'll say anything to get it, they'll seduce. So they're gonna promise this, they're gonna minimize the risks, they're going to urge you on to their way of seeing things, which usually is also, there's often a like, oh, but condoms don't feel good. And they don't have a conversation about consequences before. The person that initiates any conversation about, is this long term? What happens if this happens, like pregnancy or this? Have you been tested? Blah, blah, blah. Who brings that stuff up? I hope men do sometimes, but overwhelmingly, women are that future-oriented, consequence-looming, risk or of adverse type. So that's the reason I'm going off on this, is that after Roe vs. Wade got overturned, I saw women reacting. I judged them for reacting. Then I saw men judging them for reacting. And I said, wait a minute, I'm sorry, but the reason that they have been trying to deny who they are is because they're trying to connect with you and connect with men, because that's, they're hoping to have, get love. And even though, yes, there's like an insistence on them pretending like they don't want one man, that's not true. So I just like got off on a thing because I just get annoyed with the men that judge women for that. I know women judge women for that too, because I'm the kind of person that throughout this culture, I've always thought, well, there's something wrong with me, that I'm not normal, that I find this really annoying and miserable, but I gotta try to fit in, but I don't, and I never, I always had that kind of conversation going on. But I understand that the people who did fit in with it and appear like they're having the time of their lives, I know their mask, and I know how they felt, and then I know when they get this bait and switch of Roe versus Wade being overturned, it's not something to turn around and blame them. It's something to turn around and reflect on the actual context, which is women catering to men's sexuality, women being inundated by a cultural conditioning script that told them that casual sex is empowerment, abortion is empowerment, I am woman and hear me roar, and that, yes, culture got to a place of where there's a judgment of this kind of hedonism and lack of responsibility, to a point where people are like, listen, these late-term abortions are getting out of control, and so there's the thing about the Roe versus Wade is that this is we're told a particular story of how we're supposed to think about it, and we're told that, and so women are having a reaction that goes within their entire framing for their entire lives. And unless they can step outside of that to see, oh, here I am reacting and being manipulated and having my buttons pushed exactly as you'd expect, that is actually what empowerment is to get out of the lies that all means you're empowered, and to kind of get out in an objective, neutral watching yourself and see how there's so many narratives, and they're all kind of binding you, keeping you enslaved. And so actually I think that is a topic for another video, because it's actually its own thing. This is about those men, and just a rant about those bait and switch men, and just my empathy for the women reacting with pain and cognitive dissonance and fear to this overturn, because you've got to see where they're coming from. We've got to stop otherizing and demonizing everyone. Like, we can't be demonizing the women that are reacting. We can't be demonizing the religious right. We've got to actually get out of that emotional, either or tribal, primal, screaming war type, and get into this dispassionate, objective, neutral, like, how am I being controlled? How am I being manipulated? What is this divide and conquer where they're trying to get me to fight with this person? And let's see all the different kind of stories intermingling, and how can I really learn about myself, my reactivity, and get to a level where I can really get some awareness on this and not be controlled and emotionally manipulated. Because we are powerful. There's not even this Roe versus Wade overturned, we're told it means that it's the end of the world and that we've lost our rights. And that's simply not true. There's so many there's so many ways to get to the point where you will never get pregnant. And that's another video too. That's another video. There's a lot of videos going to come out of this, so I hope you are staying well.